Hey everybody, hope you're well. Welcome back to the fish tank. It's patch notes time, Minion Masters style. Let's dive straight in. Right, so we're still in the Vanguard expansion. This will be the second patch of 3 in the Vanguard expansion, as per usual. So, this is going to be version 1.50. This is going to be referred to as Highland Hijinks. It's going to be dropping Thursday the 7th of September. We're going to have some new tournaments. Of course, we're going to have a new season pass. There's going to be some new cards, cosmetics, and as always, balance changes and bug fixes. So let's talk about the tournaments first of all. So just so everyone's aware of what's going on, so you can think about what you want to watch and maybe what you want to take part in. So we've got our monthly Knights Duel. That's going to be a 1v1 tournament. That's number 28 on the September the 16th. There's a $400 prize pool, guaranteed prizes for all, open to everyone. So that's a one-day event on Saturday, September the 16th. And then, of course, my Fishbowl Brawls are now going to be a monthly event. So we started those last month, and they went very well. And we're going to continue those. So with each patch, we're going to have a brand new 1v1 and 2v2 Fishbowl Brawl. These events differ from the Knights Duel, where they're going to be play over time events, so rather than it being over a whole day, it gets spread out over a month or so. You get 3 days for each match. Basically, you find a convenient time for you and your opponents to schedule your match during those 3 days, and you get it played. So hopefully this allows people that don't have the wish or the ability to schedule a whole day for minions. You can spread this out over the month. Now, this, of course, 1v1 and 2v2. This is the only 2v2 tournament going on at the moment. A lot of people really enjoying 2v2, so it'd be great to have more teams in there. And it's, as always, open for people of any ability. It's also a Swiss format to start with, which means you get multiple games. Even if you lose your first 1 or 2 or more games, you still get to play a bunch of games, to have a lot of fun, to be part of the community, and to earn some rewards. So rewards for everyone, but of course, right at the top, we've got some Dynasty skins available for the winners, plus there's a 21,000 Ruby prize pool overall. Okay, so, bunch of tournaments, links will be in the description, so if you want to get involved, do so. Love to see you there. Good luck, have fun. Right, next on the agenda, Season Pass. Now, as you would probably expect from the name Highland Hijinks, this is going to be a Stoutheart themed season pass. So we've got 2 new Stoutheart cards, and we've got some Stoutheart cosmetics. And as you can see, we've got a lot of Stoutheart cards in the season pass as well. So remember, there's going to be the free pass, and then the season pass stroke battle pass. Not sure which is the correct verbiage. Right, so let's have a look at the new cards that are being added. So the first thing we will have is the Frostberry Bearer. So if you've been paying attention to the news in the game, you'll have seen this guy for the last month. So Frostberry Bearer is going to be available as always at tier 49 in the free pass or tier 1 in the season pass. But what does the Frostberry Bearer do? Okay, so 5 mana Stoutheart minion. This is basically a wild Stonebjorn with some extras. Okay, so he has the thick hide, like the wild Stonebjorn. Remind ourselves that reduces incoming damage. So it reduces minion and spell damage taken by 7 down to a minimum of 1. So that helps him to be more tanky. And that's especially efficient against Horde, because lots of little attacks, they're all getting reduced rather than one big attack just getting 1 reduction. So what does he do over and above the regular wild Stonebjorn? Well, when a nearby friendly minion, and remember, friendly means it can be yours or your teammates in duos, reaches 50% health for the first time, heal it, and give it haste. And that can happen twice. If you look at the stats on the card, you can see the heal is going to be 100. So if you look at the model, we'll have a look at that. If you look at the card, we'll look at the model as well in a second. You can see it's got the 2 barrels on the back. They represent the 2 charges, and as each charge gets consumed, the barrel gets removed. So love those little visual indicators of what's going on with the card, just like Kernath Crystalback's crystals on his back. So there we go. Frostberry Bearer is a wild Stonebjorn with some extra benefits. So this is what he looks like in the game. And as mentioned, the two on his back, the barrels, they indicate the charges. Right, so that's the first card. Second card, the Highland Huntress. Now, the Highland Huntress, this is a 5 mana ranged minion. So Stoutheart historically had not had very many ranged minions. So she's a ranged minion, so 300 health, 40 damage every 1.2 seconds. As a ranged minion, she can hit ground and air. Not all ranged minions hit ground and air, like for example the cannon roller, but generally they do. So she can hit ground and air. And every 8 seconds she gains a vicious strike. And a vicious strike means that her next attack will deal more damage. Considerably more damage, in fact. So her normal attack does 40 damage. Every 8 seconds her vicious strike will do 80 damage. Basically she throws her axe, and then the vicious strike, she throws both of them. So fairly simple ranged minion, but could really fill a hole in some Stoutheart decks if you've been running those. Now, one thing to mention is that she is available at tier 38 in the free pass or tier 22 in the season pass. She has a range of 8, so to give you an idea, that's the same range as an Annihilator, so fairly decent range. 300 HP. If you're a Wheel of Doom fan, keep in mind that she will die to the Wheel of Doom. Unless shielded, of course. And this is what she looks like in the game. I'll have a follow-up video to this. If you're watching this live on YouTube, probably tomorrow, we'll have a follow-up video looking at the new cards in action. But those are the 2 new cards. So Stoutheart. And then, of course, as always, we're going to have some cosmetics. Now, the cosmetics will always come in the season pass. And the first is a new skin for Ratbo. Like the look of this. Duke Ratbo Legendary skin. So if you're a Ratbo fan, you're going to be happy with that. Next up, we have an avatar for the Highland Huntress. It says Axe Juggler there. That's just her internal name. That'll probably be fixed at some point. Then we have the same avatar, of course, for the Frostberry Bearer. And a new emote, Charge! For the Highland Huntress emote style. Love it. Next up, balance changes. If you've been following along this season, especially with my meta video, you're going to have a good idea of what's going on in the meta, what is strong, what is not. And as always, we're going to look at the buffs, things that are stronger, nerfs, things that are made weaker, and rebalances where things are changed a lot or in multiple ways. So first of all, we got a buff to King Puff, kind of unperforming. Really hurt, I think, King Puff when they changed the bridge rules. So he's getting an improved perk 1. The cooldown for his trick swaps going down from 35 seconds to 30 seconds. So less time between them and more trick swaps throughout the entire match. Demon Warrior. So remember the Demon Warrior a few patches ago got changed to being from 6 cycles going to 3 times as big to 4 cycles going twice as big. Didn't really get that much play. She's getting a damage increase, so her base damage is going up from 75 to 90, which of course is doubled at the 4th spawn onwards, which will be 150 going up to 180. So some decent extra damage there, and some breakpoints being broken. So maybe some more Demon Warriors to be seen this season. Feng the Wanderer. When Feng first came out, it was kind of disgustingly OP. Then it got kind of scaled back and nobody played it. So maybe this will bring it back into people's minds. So the health's going up from 325 to 350. Remember, Feng gets a positive effect for each card in your hand. So if we're talking about positive effects that affect his health, so things like Spirit or Growth Burst, Giant Growth from Growth Burst Shrooms, then if he's got higher base health, that means that the buff's going to be more. So maybe some scaling buffs there, some scaling benefits for Feng the Wanderer. Ghast. Skeletons gain Rush. Remember, every time something dies close to Ghast, as long as he's not on cooldown, he'll revive a little skeleton. Rush is the keyword, which means there's no summoning sickness. If you're not sure what summoning sickness is, I have a video about that. And basically, Rush just means the units get immediately into action. They don't have to wait. They just immediately go. And you can see that in action if you watch the skeleton coming out of the ground. It's coming out of the ground and running forward at the same time. So a small buff there for Ghast. Makes him better, but potentially not much better. Ghost Turret. Health increase of the Ghost Turret from 250 to 300. Duration's the same, so it's going to last the same amount of time. It's just going to be tankier whilst it's there. Magma Storm. The number of magma rocks going up from 12 to 13. This can be kind of disgusting, but of course you've got the RNG aspect of this with regards to things missing or hitting your own units. Remember, Magma Storm does damage to friendly units as well, so be careful using this. Net Blaster gets a damage increase from 60 to 80. I mean, percentage-wise, it's a good buff, and it also means it can kill more things in one shot, whereas previously it couldn't, so now it can kill a Snake Druid Stint, Jing, or Xiaolong in one hit. Right, Nirvir the Fallen. So remember, Nirvir the Fallen starts as Nirvir Slumbers in your hand, which is in your deck, sorry, which is a removal spell, and then that becomes Nirvir the Fallen once you've reached Ascension and cycled, and so on and so forth. So the damage for Nirvir Slumbers is going up from 80 to 100, which again means it can kill more stuff. So that can kill things like Spear Throwers, Dragon Welts, Razor Squadron, and more. So some key things that it can now kill that previously couldn't. So generally what happens with the Nirvir Slumbers is you kind of hold on to it because you're waiting to use it on things that it will kill. Because remember, if you don't kill things with it, then it doesn't give you the increased Spectral Essence count for your Accursed Ascension. Whereas now you're going to have more options to use that and get the kills. So really looking forward to hopefully seeing some more Accursed decks out there. Right, next up, Slitherbound. Attack cooldown, so it attacks more quickly, 2 seconds to 1.8 seconds, and that means that it can apply the poison more quickly. So that's going to affect Slitherbounds wherever they are. Slitherbounds, Chain Gang, or the slithers that you get from the cool Slither Bind. Right, so those are the buffs. Rebalances now, where things are changed in various different ways, or ways that we're unsure of. So Valorian. So Valorian was supposed to be changed in the last patch. It didn't get through for some reason. And the change is that his perk 1 Searing Light removal spell is going from cycle-based to timer-based. Little bit of confusion with regards to this. It was supposed to be 25 seconds. It does in the game say 25 seconds, but when I tested it, it's every 30 seconds. So not 100% sure which one it is supposed to be, but it is going to be 30 seconds. I guess what will happen is we'll just see, is it strong enough at 30 seconds? If not, it will probably get fixed back to 25. If it's okay, it'll get left there. One thing to note, if you're using Searing Light as your 7th card for your Empyrean Army buff, it will only count as your 7th card whilst it exists. Remember, it's not added to your deck. It is a cycle card. Sorry, it's a timer card. So if it exists as your 5th card or in your hand, then it counts towards your bonus. If it's on cooldown, it doesn't exist, and therefore it doesn't count. Right, change to Fireball. Fireball damage is going up from 180 to 200. That's a buff. So that can now kill a Musketeer, Stormy, and Succubus, whereas previously it couldn't. But the master damage is being reduced. So previously it did 100% master damage, 180. Now it's going to do 50% master damage, so only 100. And of course, changes to Fireball will also be reflected in the Dragon Ball and the Gambler's Ball cards. Now a change to Grasping Thorns. So the damage being reduced from 240 to 150. That's a big damage reduction. I know you can probably do numbers as well. So basically it becomes more about stuff outside of its damage. And what that can do now is it will summon a skeleton, that's one of the little skeletons, for each enemy that died in the area, up to a maximum of 3. So this means that rather than being about the all-out damage, it's now about horde removal. It can still kill a lot of little units, and of course the slow is very powerful as well. But damage to big units, not so much. So there's going to be a lot of things that it can no longer kill that previously it could. But of course this means that if you play it correctly, you can now use this as some more bridge control. More units that can take a bridge, whereas previously it couldn't. So I think in the last patch, in the notes, the devs mentioned about making some changes to defensive spells to have some kind of offensive ability, and this is kind of similar along those lines. Right, next up, a change to Nether Step. So, Nether Step, Invoke is being removed, so no longer Invoke. But what it will do is summon a Swarmer for each Voidborn card in your hand. That can be up to 4, of course. And those Swarmers will be summoned at the locations the units teleport to. And the area of effect goes up from 3 to 4.5, so it can Nether Step more units. Remember, you can only Nether Step friendly, so that includes your teammate stuff, non-mythic ground minions. But as long as you tick those boxes, those units will be moved. So this is interesting because it means that now you can get, even if the Nether Step, you're jumping forward, even if the jump doesn't really achieve too much, as long as you're playing this in a Voidborn deck, which we tend to see these Nether Steps in Korgoth decks, not necessarily in the deck, but cards get invoked into the Nether Step, you'll still get that bonus Swarmer value. Right, Prime Sergeant Radic. This is kind of a balance change, but also a bug fix or a quality of life thing. It's being removed from the random pool. It's a card that has an ability card with it. Those don't play well with the random pool because you generally don't get the ability card with it, or the ability card doesn't work properly. So that means that you can no longer get it from the futures, but unfortunately it also means you can no longer play it in draft. Now, Rapid Response Reserves. So this is a change that's only going to affect 2v2. The discount, remember it discounts your opponents. Just to clarify this, because I've seen a lot of people confused about this. This discounts your opponent's hand when you play it. Not whilst it's in your hand. Whilst it's in your hand, it does nothing. When you play it, at that moment, it reduces the cost of the cards in your opponent's hand. And what this is going to do, as I said, is it's going to alternate the discount between opposing players within 2v2. So instead of one player always getting the reductions, it will change each time you use it. So just a quality of life thing, really. Makes more sense. Right, Sapphire Pebble. This is kind of a big change. We've seen a lot of proposed changes to the Sapphire Pebble in the PTR. If you've been following along with my videos or joining the PTR yourself, you will have seen them. Right, listen carefully. This is what we've ended up with. So, mana reduced from 2 to 1. So it's a 1 mana Zenshi building. The Myriad bonus is removed. So remember, it had a Myriad bonus before that if you use them together, you got them cheaper. That's been removed. So there's no reason to play them when they're both in your hand, but they still have Myriad, which still means you get an extra copy in your deck. So what happens is you place it. When it attacks, it throws its head that hits the target, so it does 100 damage from that. Boom. Then that head drops to the ground in the location that it attacked that target. That head now has 100 HP. If that survives for 5 seconds, then a brand new Sapphire Pebble will appear in that location. If it dies, then it dies. So the standard Sapphire Pebble building has 50 health, but the head has 100 health. So the head's a bit tankier when it's trying to see if it can respawn. So this is kind of interesting because you can get multiple of the pebbles respawning. And it does move it around the battlefield. Because you put it down, then it attacks. Wherever it attacks, then a new head could potentially become a new building there. Then that attacks something else. So that's kind of interesting how it can move around. So some changes there. I think it makes it more interesting. And we'll see what people manage to do with it. Right, a change now to Snap Freeze. So Snap Freeze, mana going up from 2 to 3, but it will immediately apply Frozen. So you don't have to wait for the affected units to freeze. They will be immediately frozen. One thing to note is because they're going up from 3 mana to 2/3 from 2, you can no longer get Snap Freeze as a King Puff perk 2 spell. So a little sad there, but I think that's going to be strong. It was proposed to be at 2 mana, definitely too strong at 2 mana. 3 mana feels kind of okay. Right, nerfs. What's too strong? What's getting nerfed? Morelia. Very, very popular master. Always very, very high up in my meta videos. So her perk 1, perk 2, Book of the Dead. Cooldown is being increased from 25 seconds to 27 seconds. Longer between them. Less books overall. So a little bit of a nerf there to Morelia. Aimbot. Very, very strong ranged unit. The tech cost is going up. Remember, the aimbot has 2 levels of tech. The first lot of tech gives you marksmanship. The second lot of tech gives you nats with marksmanship. Previously it costs 30 and then 30, so 60 in total. That's going up for 35 and 35, so 70 in total. So that means that you're going to need 14 mana's worth of Outlander minions to be cycled through, to be drawn, to give you enough tech for that. So what that means is you're going to have to either go more Outlander... you're going to have more Outlander cards in your deck if you want to have the aimbot always triggered at maximum abilities, or you're not going to get full buffs each cycle. Definitely a needed nerf. Is it enough? We'll find out, but it's very, very strong. When it's got shield, extra range from marksmanship, plus nats with marksmanship, that is very, very strong. Battle Shihao, again a card that was everywhere in the meta, health being reduced from 400 to 350, so that it will now have the same health as Feng. Feng going up from 325 to 350, Battle Shihao dropping from 400 to 350, so both at 350. So he's going to be weaker now. And of course, a lot of the Shihao decks are played with the Bounce Reflingers and the Growth Burst Shroom to give it the giant growth. Less base health, less giant growth benefit. And next up, Shroom Shumi. This, it wasn't everywhere in the meta, but it was pretty impactful. A lot of people played it, and a lot of people felt they had to tech against it. So it did definitely have a big effect on the meta. So remember, this splits when it receives a positive effect. Shield is no longer one of those positive effects. So you can still split it with things like Spirit, Giant Growth, Rage, Berserker Rage, Haste, and anything else that I may have forgotten. And one thing to mention is maybe you can use the new Frostberry Bearer to give it haste and split it, but it will only split at half health, so may not be worth it, but just kind of thinking out loud. So it can no longer split on shield. I think that's kind of healthy. The shield was an easy way to split it, plus the units held onto the shield, which made spells, a lot of spells, really bad against them. So I think that's a healthy change for Shroom. Hopefully doesn't kill the card, but hopefully brings it back into a more balanced state. Okay, those are the balance changes. Let's have a look at the bug fixes. So there's been a fix to rapid response reserves. The discount was apparently alternating between the player and I think the opponent. It was alternating between the player and someone. Could be teammate, could be opponent. It was cut off on the details I were given, but I just assumed opponent. But anyway, that's been fixed. Fixed Nylora not auto-attacking. Nylora, I believe, is the Demon Warrior, which is the Adventure / Mayhem Adventure Master. She was not auto-attacking. Now she is. Slitheress Diona, she was using the wrong Ruffles model in the match. So if you look at the Slitheress skin, Ruffles has a matching skin. In the match, Ruffles didn't. Now he does. Fixed Volko's Burn the Bridge effect, always going to the top bridge. So this is the trail of fire that goes from the Master Tower to the bridge. For some reason, it always went to the top bridge, regardless of which one you burnt. Now it will go to the correct bridge. And removed Radic from the random pool. As we saw that before, but as mentioned, it's kind of a bug fix, kind of a balance change, kind of a bit of everything. So, you know, we'll include it multiple times just to make sure nobody misses it. Fixed the Shroomer split percentage. So Shroomer should have been splitting at 100%. Remember, when it gets to the opponent's side, it splits, but it wasn't. But now it should be, so you should get 2 of them. Right, so those are the bug fixes. And that is the patch. So let's remind ourselves, Highland Hijinks version 1.5, dropping Thursday the 7th of September. We've got those 2 new tournaments. Sorry, we've got new tournaments. And we just got tournaments, right? We got the Knights Duel, we got the Fishbowl Brawls. Join them. We got the new Season Pass, we got the new cards, which is the Frostberry Bearer and the Highland Huntress. We've got new cosmetics, including the awesome Duke Ratbo skin. We saw all those balance changes and bug fixes, so a lot of stuff happening, a lot of cool things to look forward to, and I can't wait to get involved. As always, a quick reminder, make sure you claim any outstanding rewards, so get your Tri-Team Tourney, get your Guild Conquest rewards, claim them all before the season restarts. I always remind you, and forget myself, but you know, at least you get them. I don't really need them, I've got mostly everything in the game, but if you're a newer player, then those rewards can really help you out. So that's it. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of the upcoming changes? Do you like the look of the new cards? Do you like the look of the skin? What do you think of the balance changes? Are the things that you thought were disgustingly overpowered, have they been nerfed appropriately? Things that you felt too weak, did you think that they've been buffed appropriately? Let me know what you think. Always love to hear from you guys in the comments, and I always reply and have a good chat, so appreciate you there. Thanks so much for joining me. Always having a good time here in the fish tank. That's pretty much it. Just make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any Minion Masters news. And as always, I am awkwardly waving.